Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about neo-Nazis marching through downtown Nashville, and they're leaving after being challenged. We'll talk about the latest from that. Also, former President Donald Trump owes over $500 million in legal penalties. How will he pay it? Or will he try to push that on the American people? We'll also talk about how a woman was charged with child abuse for helping her with waxing women. We'll talk a little bit about that and a whole lot more. Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Happy Wednesday, folks. Happy Wednesday. It is officially hump day. And I hope you've been having a fantastic week. We've been doing our part here on the culture. So I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Make sure you all stay tuned in, or if you're checking us out, I hope you're checking us out on our various streaming platforms. First and foremost, our home platform, blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you go to our website today. Download the app of Black Star Network on all of your devices for free. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And we ask for you to help us out with a little something. Put it in the bucket. Help to become one of our great investors and stakeholders in this fantastic media company. So make sure y'all do your part and support us here at Black Star Network. If you already have done your part, we truly appreciate you and thank you so much for your donations. Now, we're also streaming live on Amazon platform, on Amazon News, on your Fire TV. You can also check us out on Amazon Prime Video. You can find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV, The News. You can also check us out on Freevee, the Freevee network. Find us under On Now, the news on the Freevee network. And we're on Plex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can just search for Black Star Network on there or find us on the Live TV, The News and Opinion. Now, folks, we're also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media pages. So if you follow him, you should have got a notification. But if not, go to Brother Roland Martin's Facebook page. You can see us there, as well as Roland Martin's YouTube page. And on both of those spaces, you find the great, the illustrious, the fantastic Culture Crew, and you can join the conversation. There you go. You can join the conversation as the Culture Crew and join us in the discussion as well, as we are getting people checking in from the chat on both of them places, folks. And you don't want to miss the conversation. It's like no other on any other platform, any other media space. We have the best listeners right here on the Culture and the Black Star Network. And big shout out to the online Culture Crew as folks are checking in. Make sure y'all, when y'all come into the room, make sure y'all hit that like button, get the algorithms going, and a whole lot more. I see you, Deidre Hall, Mingley, Natasha Surge, Pastor Damon Blissett, Pauline Hurt. I see you, the ABX girl, Ray Pippins. God bless the culture. God bless you too, Brother Ray. Thank you so much. Duan Ebron, I see you. Tiana, I see you. Who else we got in here checking in today? There we go. Brian Christian, my guy, thank you for checking in. Good to connect with you once again. Anastasia Pageant, good to connect with you once again. Donna McAdoo Kelly, good to connect with you. Evans Jean Baptiste, Maxa Delva, thank you so much for checking in, and a whole lot more. Cindy D, I see you. Thank you for checking in as well. And folks, again, you can join us right now in the chat and be a part of the conversations. Okay, now it is Wednesday, so y'all know every Wednesday I check in with my sister. She is a fantastic woman that's doing some fantastic work. She is a licensed attorney out of the state of Florida. She's the host of the Suzette Speaks show on YouTube, and she's a political strategist. My sister Suzette Speaks is in the building right now. Suzette.
Hey, everybody. What's up to the Culture Crew? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, Suzette. How you feeling this afternoon?
Fantastic. It's cold. In Miami, it's 50-some degrees, y'all. So I'm happy.
What's the weather usually around this time of year?
We never really stay this cool this long. So we've had a few cold snaps where it's like 50s and 60s. So this is our extended Christmas, I guess. Climate
It's
change,
about
right?
61. It's about 61, 62 degrees here in LA.
Oh, cool, cool.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, a little overcast clouds and stuff like that. You know, just getting up the rain, but it feels good. It's a good temperature for this time of year. So that's
Yeah, we
what's up.
got
That's what's up.
the jackets and Uggs out. You know how we do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Welcome
All
to
right,
my.
Suzette. Let's talk about what's going on with these neo Nazis that they marched through the streets of downtown Memphis. I saw, you know, folks talking about this, and this is an interesting situation. And I know you wanted to kind of comment to share your thoughts on what we're seeing because this is bold. This is 2024, and you still have this type of demonstrations happening, especially after what we just saw in Charlottesville just a few years ago, how that situation turned out. But this, I mean, they made their presence known, but after being challenged a few times, they got into a truck and then head out of Davidson County. So, what do you make of this latest demonstration from the neo Nazis group?
Well, just like you said, this demonstration this past weekend in the Capitol there in Tennessee did have a lot of hearkenings back to the Charlottesville demonstration that we saw a few years back. This was really frightening, despicable, terrible. I can't think of enough adjectives to give this show of hate. And just like the state representative Justin Jones, who happened to be leaving an event where he stepped out into his downtown streets and saw what was happening as it took place. He went live on his Instagram, and it was very shocking for the world to see. Yet here we are, as you said, in 2024, and we're still seeing neo-Nazi groups that are comfortable enough to demonstrate. As you can see, they were out there, probably about 24 was the total number. Their faces were covered so that they could not be identified, but they did carry flags with swastikas on them, as you can see. And after some exchange that took place there, they scurried off into U-Haul vehicles, like in the back of a U-Haul truck. And according to the sheriff there, they left the area. So this was very disturbing for those of us who know that, unfortunately, the political climate that we have seen, specifically there in Tennessee, has led to, I think, groups like this one to feel much more comfortable and confident in their divisive message. And Tennessee has had, you know, quite a few headlines since last year. We saw the Tennessee 3, and of course, I want to get into that and how it seems to be a pattern and practice on the political side to have a different set of rules depending on what you look like, maybe your ethnicity, and even your race. So it's really disturbing that we right now, 2024, are seeing groups like this one in our streets demonstrating openly and spreading their message of hate. We really, really need to highlight this so they aren't as comfortable as it seems that they are right now.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Look, we got to take our first pause. When we come forward, we'll continue the conversation. Crew, I want to get your take on this as we're talking about neo-Nazis marching through the streets of Nashville, Tennessee over the weekend. What's your take? What does this mean to you? How does this hit you, folks? Join us in the conversation. We would love to get your take on it. Join us as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's Facebook page, Roland Martin's YouTube channel. And of course, stay tuned. We got a whole lot to cover in this first half of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. That's right. Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barbara. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. And so I want to bring my sister Suzette Speaks as we're talking about the neo-Nazis march. But we could not, we can't neglect from the conversation the great march that's being convened by the Poor People's Campaign. You saw just Reverend Barber just sharing his thoughts around that great march that's expected to happen, God willing, on March the 2nd in a few weeks. So, you know, that is, of course, something that we look forward to, and we want you to tune into Black Star Network on March the 2nd, as we will be doing round-the-clock coverage of that great demonstration by Reverend Barbara and the wonderful people of the Poor People's Campaign. Speaking of marches, let me bring my sister Suzette Speaks back into the fold, and that's a good piece that you have one march happening with neo-Nazis, and then you have this other march happening standing for the poor, standing for the disenfranchised. It just goes to show you that we are in a real intense battle right now, Suzette, in this country, and we have to draw the lines. We have to, get ourselves prepared, because as we're seeing those who are against our interests and our livelihoods taken to the streets, we got to do the same. And so, looking at that, and it inspired me, because sometimes when we see, even if it's just a couple of dozen of neo-Nazis running through the streets, it invokes a lot because of the history of our people and the relationship we've had with the KKK, with the racism that we still see in this country. It just evokes a lot. What's your take?
Yes, Farajii. Again, what a contrast, just to echo your sentiments, between what we just saw from Reverend Barber and what we saw this past weekend in the streets of downtown Nashville. When I look at the numbers of voters, this is why I think it all ties back into why we should all be politically active in some way, shape, or form, especially at the ballot box. When you look at Tennessee as a whole, about 16% of its population is Black. So of that 16%, 16.4%, what I have found is that 1 out of 5 Black adults of voting eligible age is ineligible. Wow. So 20%, think about the laws that's being passed. That's why I don't ever understand how it can be one's political position to not vote and not participate. Because based on the laws that are already being written on the books in Tennessee, 20% of the adults there cannot vote who are Black, right? Of the Black population, 1 out of 5 Black adults in Tennessee cannot vote. So this should be a call to action to those of us who can and who do have the ability. We have to remind ourselves that in Tennessee, just last year, this same elected body gave us the Tennessee 3, if you recall, with Justin Jones, who we just spoke about, who recorded this as it was happening. He had a counter rally yesterday, spoke very well and tried to reset and reclaim that space there as the people's space on the Capitol. But yeah, last year we had those two young politicians, Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, who were expelled for a so-called protest on the House floor there. And their colleague who also participated, you remember Gloria Johnson, for whatever reason, by one vote, she was not expelled. And we also saw just recently, actually, as of last week, when I was on Roland's show, Tennessee also, their state house did not recognize two Grammy winners. One happened to be white. I think her name is Paramore, and one happened to be black, Miss Allison Russell. And Justin Jones submitted proclamations. These don't have any legal effect. These are more ceremonial as a form of recognition. And Justin Jones put forth proclamations on behalf of both Tennessean Grammy winners, and they rejected the one for Miss Russell while accepting the one for Paramore. So it doesn't seem as if this behavior is going away or is in any way being reversed. We're seeing it kind of pop its way up to the forefront again. And if that is coming from your elected leaders, Farajii, what can we expect to see in the streets? Because this is what we saw. So imagine what else is happening behind closed doors or in spaces where, we don't have cameras. That's what's so frightening. And until we start to see, more diverse thought leadership within Tennessee's elected government, we're going to have a lot more of these groups that feel emboldened to go out there. I also wanted to mention the name of this group. It is called the so-called Blood Tribe. According to the Anti-Defamation League, these folks popped up around 2020, 2021. They are, again, involved in several anti-LGBTQ marches. That has been their main focus, as well as anti-immigrant, of course, anti-Black, and any type of diversity, if you will, when it comes to public policy. But again, when you see Nazi emblems in the streets of the United States in 2024, the message is loud and clear. And again, they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't feel they were empowered from the top, right there in the Tennessee legislature. And many would argue even beyond that, from the likes of a former president. So this, again, was just such a disturbing story. We wanted to make sure we highlighted it. And kudos to Justin Jones for not only capturing it, but also trying to reclaim the space and call it out. And we're here to stand in solidarity with his message.
No, that's absolutely right, Suzette. And I think, all that you just mentioned, we have to keep these things in mind. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people may kind of overlook is how serious the time is, that it requires us to become active participants. This is something we talk about every day, every week that you're on the show, that it requires a lot of us to kind of get out of our comfort zones. Now, do you need to go marching in the street? If you want to. If you want to. Should you go to the ballot box? Absolutely. Should you get involved in some community organizations to get our people more politically and socially engaged?
Farajii, I think your audio just cut, sir. Just that last part, cannot hear you. But you were saying that the activism that we need in a moment like this is very important among our brethren. So please keep this in mind. Shout out to Justin Jones. Make sure you follow him and support his efforts, especially if you're there in Tennessee, so that we don't see this type of craziness in American cities. Can we take a quick break and then we'll fix the audio issue? Yes. Thank you. Stay tuned, y'all. Much more to come.
hatred on the streets. A horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds. An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol. We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let me join my sister Suzette Speaks once again, one of our great contributors here on the show, as we've been talking about the impact of the neo-Nazis as they were walking through the streets of Nashville. And let me bring Suzette back into the frame here. Suzette.
Yes.
There we go. All right, got little bugs out the system. But the point I was just trying to make is that when we see these things happening, I think the hardest part for a lot of people is to get out of the mentality that the government is going to do something about it, right? Not to say that they can't, but if you have neo-Nazis marching through your downtown, wherever you are in this country, there is a counter strategy that you can employ to make sure that the environment for which they march in is not conducive for them to make that type of demonstration. And so that's what all I'm saying, that, you know, people act as if, oh, well, we got to call the police, or we got to call the senators and things like. It's the hardest part, I think, for a lot of people today is to become active participants and to see that we can't sit on the sidelines anymore, hoping that the White House is going to address a march in Nashville, Tennessee, or a march in Miami, Florida, or some type of demonstration in Los Angeles. It's not the same. You got a couple of dozen people marching, then you got to say to yourself, okay, this must means that they feel comfortable in doing this, and so we're going to make it uncomfortable for them, not through violent ways,
right,
but through counter strategies, through marches that start to push back on their rhetoric and the messaging that they want to put out there. But I think it just requires a change in how we see our participation nowadays, instead of just waiting and hoping that somebody's going to save us.
You make an excellent point, Farajii. Instead of just doing what we normally do, which is appropriate, to look to our elected officials for guidance and leadership, we have to remember elected officials respond to those who are most active in this democracy. So when it comes to school board, where do they put more funds? The schools that have the more active PTAs, more parent involvement, et cetera, et cetera. So it may not be fair, and it may not seem as if, you know, that should be the measuring stick for how much a government or elected leaders react. But truth be told, the more they see us, the more they hear from us, whether you send your first email to your elected official, whether that's county, whether that's state, whether you donate to a campaign or donate to a third party voter registration organization, you got to do something. These are the times that we're living in. And I really emphasize, a lot of times we're used to our parents' generations and the grandparents' generations that have done so much already, but it's our turn. It's our turn, y'all. Like, if you are up and coming, 21 or above, you have to get involved. You have to find a way to contribute to moving us forward. Whether, again, that is, like Farajii says, showing up outside of the Capitol when a counter protest, is occurring, or whether it's running for office, again, donating to somebody who might have more time and ability to run for, an elected office with the same type of principles that you believe in. Those things help. So the small movements, the re-registering, re-entering citizens and things like this, that 1/5 of the Black population in Tennessee that is not permitted to vote. It's shocking. How are they going to win? Take away 20% of the Black people from the voting rolls. That's how you can control the state house. This is in our face, y'all. This is not behind closed doors. We're seeing the movement backwards. The gutting of the Civil Rights Act, gutting of the Voting Rights Act, things that used to protect us and help to make the playing field much more equal, are now being totally dismantled. And again, we're seeing this in every area, but particularly voting, and particularly within the political infrastructure of this country. We have to awaken to not just, okay, I see it. Now the question becomes, what are we doing about it? What are we as individuals and as the collective? Because our power is when we join together and we are visible to those who are making these very rules.
And here's the other thing about this, is that this particular group that marched through the streets of Nashville, they are a part of a white supremacist membership organization called Blood Tribe. And Blood Tribe was founded in earnest in 2021 by a former Marine, Christopher Polhas, according to the Anti-Defamation League. This is happening like within a couple of years. So if this is happening, this is 2021. We just got into 2024. So at this point, you're talking about maybe 2 years or so, about 3 years, or a little bit less than 3 years, that something like this will happen. Now, some people might say, oh, look at the little numbers, it's 3 years. But you got to remember that some of these groups, they operate off of the sentiment of fear. They operate off the sentiment of hate, the sentiment of feeling like they have to fight back or take back the country. And because of that, or in some cases, fascism, they see the Biden administration as being fascist. They see diversity as being a problem and all of those things. But that just goes to show you that this is not stuff from the 1950s. You got people in here, and the infamous Kiki, one of our culture crew members, said it. These groups are composed of doctors, lawyers, police people, people that are in Marines, the military as we speak right now.
Man.
You see what I'm saying? And so this is not like years old. This is like right now, current stuff, right? These guys are people who we work next to, live with, go to school with, that we see each and every day. And we don't know what's in people's heads. We certainly don't know what's in people's hearts, but it just goes to show you that this is happening in real time. And this is not like the sky is falling type of conversation, because I hate those fear-driven conversations.
Right.
But I do want us to, at least as you mentioned, I do want us to be aware that these things are happening right now. This is not the 60s. This is not the 50s. This is 2021 when a group started. And this is only the beginning of 2024. So there's still a lot of working ground to cover. Suzette, I give you the final word.
Yeah, I think, again, we have to think about two things that's coming to mind real quick. The political climate that allowed this group to feel emboldened to form and to put themselves out there. What radicalized them? That's the question, right? About our political landscape. And again, I think we as individuals have to look at what we can be doing at the local level. As small as it is, it matters. As large as it is, it's wonderful in terms of pushing the cause of diversity forward when it comes to a multiracial, multi-generational. Think about what they're standing against. Multi-religious, multi-ethnic. That is what they fear. And we have a lot more in common. And we also are asking allies, right, of the Black community to speak up as well. Because in those rooms that we're not necessarily in, where these conversations, as you said, these are everyday people. They are masked up. But I wouldn't be surprised, because the ones that we saw in Charlottesville that were connected with their real social media accounts, they were everyday people that provide business services, that provide, public services to the public. So we need allies who are in those circles, both parties. This is not about a party thing, that sees, and hears this type of dangerous rhetoric, to stand up in those rooms, in those conversations, and make a difference in terms of how welcomed or unwelcome these folks and their ideas feel, especially in spaces where, it's not predominantly Black. We need allies to also help to eradicate this type of thinking.
Absolutely. You're right on point there. Look, we're going to continue to keep our eyes on this situation, and hopefully it does not grow, but we'll certainly keep our eyes on it. Folks, we got to take a quick pause when we come forward. Keeping in the spirit of politics, I want to...
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, Dave.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Been chatting with my sister, Suzette Speaks, host of the Suzette Speaks show on YouTube, and one of our great contributors here on The Culture. Suzette, let's switch gears as we're talking about what's going on with those on the far right. One of their champions, former President Donald Trump, is showing that he is just racking up the dollars on his side of things. And I came across this article. There are a couple of things happening as a result of what we saw with Friday's decision from the New York courts that said that the former president had to shell out over $350 million for his civil fraud case. And first thing, this is why I wanted to talk to you about this. Here's why. Because there was an article that was included. I just want to show, Lisa, if we could just show just the headlines for this article. I mean, this is insane. Let's do Article 1, where Trump is facing some $500 million in legal penalties. Mm-hmm. They said that it's even as high, it could be as high as $600 million, Suzette. My question to you, as the lawyer, he has all of these penalties as a result of the E.G. Carroll case, as a result of the recent civil fraud case that Letitia James prosecuted, and some other cases that he has. And he's still got other hearings to go down. One, how does the court system determine how much money a situation is, given the fact that even a person like Trump with uncertain amount of money, they still allow a judgment of like $350 million. My big question is, how will he pay it?
Well, y'all seen the golden boots. Now we have a lot to break down. Let me get this. So let's just back up to make sure everybody's on the same page as to what happened. Again, this was a case brought by the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, concerning Trump's business practices. Now, what did he do? Well, according to the prosecution in this case, Mr. Trump inflated the size, the value of his properties, of his businesses, in order to gain advantages with the banks, with insurance companies, with the city and state itself, in order to use it to his advantage in business. So what does that mean? He overvalued and inflated the worth of his businesses, his properties, and his companies, so that he had an advantage in the marketplace. So some people were asking, well, did it hurt anybody? Well, of course. The taxpayers, the other small businesses and other businesses that could not get the money, because again, based on fraud, based on what this case now has proved, right? He's been convicted and now has been, I'm using the word sentence, but the judgment is a better way to put it, because it's not a criminal sense of him going to jail. It's a civil penalty. So with respect to your question as to why the large amount, now this happens all the time, but in Mr. Trump's case and his organization's case, 10 plus years of making up the numbers, of increasing the value of his business, that has caused him to gain an unfair, whopping advantage in the marketplace. And Letitia James has had a thorough investigation that has led us to this point. This was an 11-week trial. All this evidence was brought forward. Again, there was testimony by several co-defendants, of which this judgment also applies to. So we're looking at the Trump CFO, Alan Weisselberg. He also received a civil penalty. Jeremy McConney, the comptroller, Trump's 2 adult sons as well. If you looked at the testimony, if you watched any of the trial, a lot of them were kind of like, oh, we didn't know, we were just signing paperwork kind of testimony. But this mattered to former President Trump. He was at this trial almost every time the courthouse was open. Anytime there was a hearing. Why? Because it goes to the principles of who his, of which his brand stood on, which was that he is some sort of amazing genius when it comes to business. He's an excellent, businessman, and that he has built from the bootstraps,
an
empire. But what this lawsuit and brought by the state, by the Attorney General, proves, now we have a judgment that no, as a matter of law, the judge actually went straight to damages. After hearing all that testimony, there was an immediate judgment that said, based on the evidence presented, he fabricated, he defrauded. In other words, he lied, he and his organization, with regards to its valued assets, its prospects in business. It is just mind-boggling, the fraud based on what we saw via testimony, bank statements, all of that came into play to say this man has had an unfair advantage for more than a decade in the state of New York, and it stops now. He's being held accountable now. So we're looking at the judgment. When it comes to the judgment, $355 million approximately. We're looking at also about 100 million in interest, right? The interest is accruing on this, and what is going to be difficult. Let me first answer the question that you had with regards to why so much, and do you look at the defendant's ability to pay? No, you look at what the evidence shows is justifiable or commiserate. I'm trying to look for the right legal term, right? Makes sense.
Right.
Break it down with the fraud committed, right? So he has had millions and millions of dollars in advantage by utilizing incorrect data, wrong numbers, inflating sizes of properties, you name it. So with that millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in gains, the judge looked at it and weighed. Now, what Letitia James wanted was a permanent bar from doing business, a removal of the license from the Trump organization from doing business in New York. So the judge had even more possible remedies that he did not use. And I know we have to take a break. We'll get back to this on the other side. But yeah, he could have gone even farther, Farajii. So we have to keep that in mind as well.
That is insane to me. That is insane. Now, I get what you're saying on the legal side.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying on the legal side. When we come forward, you got to help me to understand what we are going to expect to see from this guy as it talks about paying this money back, how that's going to happen. Because, folks, guess what, crew? If he doesn't pay it back, Letitia James, she is not playing. She's like, look, either you pay the money or she's going to employ another avenue of getting a payback from former President Trump and Trump organization. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And I want to get your take on this, crew. How you see a presidential nominee who owes over $500 million in debt due to legal penalties is running for the president of the United States. Are y'all feeling comfortable about that? You feel confident about that? Share your thoughts. Post your comments as we stream live from Roland Martin's YouTube channel and Roland Martin's Facebook page. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. If you missed the first half of the show, you can definitely be a part of Team Replay. Just go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com after the show, or check us out really on Roland Martin's YouTube channel, and you can find the replay of the show directly after the show ends its live broadcast. But you can check out the first half of the show and so much more. But you go to our website today, you can download the site, download the app for free on all of your devices. You can follow us on social media at Black Star Network, as well as we ask for your financial support and donations as well. Now, you can also follow me on social media as we continue the conversation offline, or off air rather. You can follow me at The Real Farajii on Instagram, at Farajii on the X platform, and at Farajii Muhammad on Facebook, and I would love to connect with you. Now, folks, we are streaming live on Amazon platforms, so make sure y'all check us out on Amazon News on your Fire TV. We're also on Amazon Prime Video. You can find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV and News, or you can find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, Live TV, the News. And we're on the Freevee Network, where we're on now under News for Black Star Network, as well as Flex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network. We'll find us under Live TV, the News, and Opinion. And we're currently streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media page on Facebook, on his Facebook page, and on his YouTube channel. And on both of those spaces and places, you can find the illustrious Culture Crew. Join us in the conversation. The best chat on the internet, right? We have these discussions about what's going on, talking about the current topics, talking about other topics, but we're talking, folks, like no other. So join us as being part of the illustrious Culture Crew. Let me bring my sister Suzette Speaks back into it. My sister, who is the host of the Suzette Speaks show, she's a licensed attorney in the state of Florida and political strategist. She joins us every Wednesday here on the Culture, as well as on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You can find her there as well. But we're talking about former President Donald Trump and his legal fees, his legal penalties rather, as the cost is going up. I have never ever seen a president who is running, a candidate who's running to be president of the United States, and he is walking into the White House with over $500 million of legal penalties. This is like staggering. And then the crazy part about it, Suzette, is expecting that if he's been found, can we say guilty in this civil fraud case? Can we use that terminology?
Yeah, you can use that terminology. Yes.
All right. He's been found guilty of civil fraud. He's been penalized with this whopping $355 million judgment. But people expect and believe that he's going to do well by the finances of the United States of America.
This is the front runner.
Look, I'm not making mockery of this. I'm not making, but I do want to ask, like, for those who are riding with this guy, with this candidate, do you honestly believe that now that this thing is stacking up, and again, he has more trials coming up. There's one on the 25th of March. He has more trials coming up. Do you really believe that he is going to keep your best interests at heart financially? You said it best, Suzette. You said it in your remarks, opening remarks. Here's a guy that has off the bat, and I've heard this from black men as well. He's a great businessman. He has look at what he has done. Nobody is carrying this type of debt. And this is what it is. Personal and business debt, like this man is carrying. And who's going to pay that? That's the ultimate question. Is it going to be the American people? Is it going to be the Republican Party? Is he going to put out another product to get on the marketplace to help cover the cost? How will this debt be paid? Here's the other thing. And I'm going to just let you, I'm just throwing this out there, Suzette, because I'm going to give you something to work with here. Earlier, just a couple of days ago, ABC News reported two things. One, our sister, Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, made some remarks in an interview with ABC News saying that she's prepared to seize Trump's buildings if he can't pay his $354 million civil fraud fine. She's ready to start taking properties from him.
Listen,
That's one.
is on their neck, but go ahead. Go ahead.
That's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
The second thing is ABC News posted on their Instagram page that the interest alone on all this debt that he owes, his legal penalties, it exceeds $87,000 a day. And that's
$2 million
how much
every
is
month.
accumulating
Yes.
for him if he doesn't pay within a given period. $87,000. That is people's yearly salary. And this is the type of interest that is accrued a day, crew. Y'all hear me? 87. I read this. I looked at their Instagram. I was like, what? And this is real life. This is not like some no, this is real numbers. 87,000. I think it's like $87,012 or something.
Yeah.
But $87,000 a day. All right, Suzette, I gave you enough to
So
work.
yeah, there's so much to cover and so much to unpack there. But yeah, let's break down those numbers again, because again, I don't think we can sometimes comprehend the nature and the scope of such a large, fraudulent empire. But that's what was at the heart of this case, right? This mythology around Trump and being, this amazingly, incredibly successful business person is what Letitia James's case really pokes a giant hole in that lore. Because from this case's inception, when she filed it September 2022 until now, they have been utilizing their own documents, their own testimony from the likes of Donald Trump Jr., from the likes of Eric Trump, Mr. Weisselberg, Mr. McConney, all of those folks who were involved in what this case now has adjudicated, which is that there was the scope of this fraud. It does not, it's not easily understood by folks, little people like us, right? Where our pocketbooks, only have a certain amount of zeros. The real estate empire that he sold to the American public, in fact, really didn't exist at the level at which he wanted the public to believe. And in this case, Letitia James uncovered brick by brick, piece by piece, how much that billionaire status was inflated and how they utilized numbers that were incorrect. If you and I did this, Farajii, we would pay the same type of penalty. But it's just that his is on such a massive scope that the judgment reflects the nature of the real estate empire fraud that was perpetrated against the state of New York, against the taxpayers, against banks, against insurance companies, and other entities by which they gained an advantage, an unfair advantage that other people would not be able to gain if they did not mislead people about the size of their investments, their buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So when we look at the breakdown of the interest by New York law, interest is accumulated at 9% per annum per year, right? So of any civil judgment penalty. So when we're looking at why this is so much, when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, that's $2 million a month just in interest. So that's why we're looking at what is the actual damages. The damages is around that 353, 355 million, depending on where you read your reporting. And that extra 85 to 100 million that's already been accruing because the judge, Judge Arthur Erganon, I want to make sure I say his name right, also put the interest back from 2019. So the interest clock has started way before today. Now he has 30 days to pay this. That's why you're hearing in the news now that Attorney General James is saying he has properties. He has other ways of discharging this debt. She doesn't want it just to be, a paper judgment, and rightfully so. So for the taxpayers' sake, for those who did not get the advantages that Mr. Trump unfairly took in the marketplace, this is the judgment. So there may be other legal remedies and recourse for the Attorney General to take to collect. Now you see, and I would add to that list of where's the money coming from, you will hear folks mention possibly, allegedly, the campaign funding. So you see the new shoes. Are y'all buying them shoes? I'm confused.
Come on, nobody wearing them shoes.
Is it us? I hope not. Is it because they know we're sneakerheads? We got a lot of sneakerheads in the community. So I'm wondering, is this a setup for, to terrible marketing that will lead back to he got to pay these people back. And if I look at all the numbers for Farajii, I was just pulling up case by case. When we look at Trump, 354.9 million in this case, including interest while it's being appealed. Now he has an appeal file. A hearing is coming up February 16th. That interest still keeps going. So looking at the interest, 98.6 million. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Mr. Weisselberg, 9 million. He had 2 gag orders that he violated. Remember when we talk about what you can say against the legal system? That was 15,000. The 2 fines for breaking back in the gag order back in October 2023. And then the previous cases, the E. Jean Carroll cases, 83.3 million. She had a defamation lawsuit from 2023, 5 million. So the legal fees are in fact stacking up. And I know we got to take a break. We can come back and talk about it a little bit more. But the fines are stacking up. And again, it is proportionate to what the judge felt was the fraud that was perpetrated. That's where those numbers come in and are so large. So that's
crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Pauline Hurt, you said he shouldn't be allowed to run for a dog catcher. This is unbelievable. I mean, seriously. Lana, my sister, you say he is a walking dead man, walking dead. What can he do for anyone besides go to Mars? Man. I mean, the money that this man owes is unbelievable. Let me see here. I've been seeing people saying like, this is crazy. And again, he got more cases. He got more.
Yeah.
He got more trials coming up.
So yeah, real quick. I know we got to go to break, but this civil judgment, he can't discharge. He's running for president. Many would argue to save himself from the criminal charges that are coming up in the other 4 jurisdictions, right? But instead, this one, the New York judgment, even if he does somehow, some way become president of the United States, he can't discharge this one. So lots of folks are speculating. You know, he is still the front runner. There are people that are Trump or nobody else, that core base, that 1/3 hardcore enthusiastic base of the Republican Party that show up the most during the primary season and that are handing him a presumptive nomination. They don't seem to have a problem with it. And it's sad that sometimes these judgments and even the other cases that are being prosecuted seem to be strengthening him with said base. But I'm going to let us take our break and come back.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, folks, stay with us. We still got a lot more to cover here on the second half of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching
That's right.
a 42-week campaign, March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barber. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the 4th leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my contributor and one of our great voices here on the Black Star Network, my sister Suzette Speaks. I'm so happy every time I'm seeing this piece from Reverend William Barber, Suzette. I just get excited. I'm going to be honest with you. I am a true supporter of the work that he is doing and keeping up with the great work of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but the work of the Poor People's Campaign is so important in this country, and to see them mobilizing this because, you know, some people, and I know this is kind of a little bit off of what we were talking about, but, you know, it just goes to show you that some people are expecting, you know, that one voice to galvanize Black folks, that one voice to galvanize poor people, and that one voice to bring people together. But the beautiful thing I like about the Poor People's Campaign is the fact that they're putting power back into the hands of the people. The campaign doesn't work under one voice. Yes, you have leaders like a Reverend Barber and others, but at the end of the day, the true leadership is collective power, is the people. And so, you know, I am 1000% in support of that versus us kind of continue to uphold this monolithic view of what power and how we should approach, you know, speak truth to power in this country. I just get inspired to hear from Reverend William Barber.
Absolutely. Every time I have seen it, and I'm grateful we're getting this type of new ad here on this platform so that people will know. Again, when you have one head of the snake, so to speak, they can kill that one head. And I think that was the motto. You'll hear Black Lives Matter, Alicia Garza and that team talk about how important it was that there was no one leader, one face, you know, one person. And I think that model has its strengths. So lovely to see it as well, that there is an activation that's happening for the Poor People's Campaign.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to kind of, as we talk about Trump's money, you know, I think we're going to hear a lot more of that. So by the time next week comes, we might be hearing some new developments in that situation.
Absolutely.
But speaking of money, I wanted to switch gears to talk about what this one young Black woman did that has gotten social media lit up. This is a very, very unfortunate story, but some of you may have heard it. This is about the story of former beautician Jasmine Moss. She's a 30-year-old Black woman. And she was arrested just on Monday, charged with child neglect and child abuse after numerous complaints about photos on her professional Instagram page, according to Memphis police. These photos show, and these photos, we're not going to show these photos here, but these photos are showing a young girl. Some would say that she is about 6 or 7 years old, but a young girl working on women naked from the waist down, including one leaning back with her legs spread as the girl appeared to work on her private area to perform a bikini wax. Now, Jasmine Moss is the mother of this young girl. And as a result of that, this is where the complaints come from, because people are saying this is child abuse. This is inappropriate. This is not right. And therefore, Memphis police investigated. They arrested Jasmine Moss. Her Instagram account has since been deleted. But Jasmine claimed her daughter worked on 24 clients as her assistant to do bikini waxes over an 8-hour period.
Like 10 hours, Farajii, 10 hours.
Oh, 10 hours. I'm going off what the New York Post said. That's good.
Allegedly. That's what I read.
Allegedly, 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thinking of Jasmine Moss' 30-year-old sister. She said, when I say I'm passing down deed and LLCs to my creation, I mean that.
Deed and LLCs?
Deed and LLCs, basically saying that she's building generational wealth by bringing a 6-year-old or underage girl into a bikini wax space to perform bikini wax on 24 women who asked for this. This story right here has gotten social media going crazy. But first, I want to start off from getting an understanding of this. A child is not being physically abused in this case, right? But I wanted to kind of get your take on what is the legal definition of child abuse. When we say child abuse in a case like this, child abuse and child neglect, what does the law mean by that?
Well, let me back you up a little bit, Farajii, because there's a moral dilemma that presented itself before that there was possible charges being filed and an arrest made.
That's the point.
Like many other people who saw this on social media, I saw it on Shade Room for the first time, and I was appalled by the prospect that a mother would allow, and we don't know the exact age of the child, I would dare to say elementary school age, definitely looking child, whose face, again, do not share these images. It was blurred out at the time that it was shared on Shade Room, but law enforcement has advised that we or no one share these images because of their nature and the sensitivity of what was shown. But there is a judgment lapse. I don't even know what to say that this woman had. And it goes back to why we need strong communities, healthy, moral friendship groups for people to get good feedback. Because in her judgment, and again, I don't know this woman, we're just going off of what you read, the facts that are available to us in the public spaces that we've seen them, seems as if she scarily miscalculated how inappropriate this was. Now, as an adult with a beauty license, she does waxing, and waxing includes all areas of the body. But just in general, the sentiment I've been seeing throughout social media is that why would a parent, an adult, a 30-year-old, in their mind somehow justify that this was an age-appropriate activity for their daughter? And as she described, this child was exposed to 20-some adults. And the question also then becomes, why didn't those 20-something adult patrons, clients, think there was something wrong with this? That they would, in their own minds, not have drawn some sort of line of appropriateness to have their private parts receive waxing services from an elementary school age child. Those folks also, to me, have some culpability. Now, it sounds as if the post actually was a blessing in disguise for the child, because the mother clearly, just by what you read and what she had, misplaced pride, misplaced pride in what she was doing, thinking, and again, we're not talking about, I'm not even saying like a 16-year-old or somebody who actually has real sentient recognition of what's happening in that situation. This child has no choice. But in her mind, she felt, I'm showing her how to, make money. She made, and I think she put the dollar amount that the child made and how she was going to save it for her future and building her future. I think this woman, at the very least, needs some hardcore parenting classes, because I think in her attempt, based on what she wrote, just inferring from her Instagram posts, she has to be taught the difference, in age appropriateness for something like this for a child that age and stage. But what is so sad, it has now led to Child Protective Services investigating possible criminal charges based on what she posted. So it is opened a can of worms in her life, I'm sure, just based on what she's demonstrated by her actions. She did not anticipate or see anything wrong with. So there's a very big gap in terms of not only the law, but morality, and how interesting this case shows us. Interestingly, it kind of poses the fact that this person felt justified in doing what they did with their child. And we got to talk about it, because I think that, there's probably a lot more folks, that are like her in terms of a mindset of, I'm trying my best to give my child a future, not considering the activity itself and how it is, utterly adult in nature, and what impact it would have on her baby girl. I don't think she thought of any of that. So
no, she didn't. Hey, Suzette, no, she didn't. We got to take a quick pause. So I'm going to share with you some more of the detail. But let me just throw this detail out. It's been shown that the child was 5 years old.
Is it 5? Ooh.
5 years old. People magazine has reported the girl was the child was 5 years old. And when we're talking about financial literacy, who said this in the chat? Someone said this. Davey Floater said she thought she was teaching financial literacy. I'm sure she did. I really, she probably had no thought of the as you said it so eloquently, Suzette, the morality, the moral component of this, right? You got 24 women who have gone to get themselves worked on, and you got a 5-year-old sitting in the room, and you got pictures, and she's applying and doing all she's doing, and you worrying about it. 5 years old. But see, that just goes to show you about us, the moral compass within the Black community.
There's so much to unpack here, Roger.
There's so much to unpack. Look, we got to take a quick pause. Stay with us. We're going to get to more of your take on this, folks. I want to get your take. Join us in the conversation as we're streaming live from Roland Martin Facebook page, on Roland Martin's YouTube channel. And, of course, stay tuned. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii, and I'm joined by our contributor, my sister Suzette Speaks, as we're talking about the story of a social media post that featured a 5-year-old waxing a woman's nude body and essentially leading to the arrest of the mother of the 5-year-old, Jasmine Moss, a 30-year-old woman in Memphis, Tennessee. This is Jasmine Moss right here, folks. This is her. This is the police photo of her. She was responsible for this unfortunate situation. The local news station down in Memphis, WREG, reported that police had received more than 80 complaints about Jasmine Moss and her social media videos last week. 80 complaints. When the police reviewed the social media videos, and 3 images allegedly show the 5-year-old applying the wax to the nude public areas of several adults, according to a report. And the Memphis Police Department said that the department's Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force began to investigate the clips, and a warrant was issued for Moss' arrest the day after it began reviewing the clips. And these, Jasmine Moss thought this was a good idea to use these videos and images to promote her business.
As marketing.
As a marketing ploy. Check this out, Suzette. She performed this hair removal services on 24 women, earning $700 for her work.
The baby, the 5-year-old.
The baby.
Mm-hmm. And I was incorrect, Farajii. I'm reading the affidavit now. It says 8 hours of work.
8 hours of work.
Yeah.
8 hours of work. She earned $700 for her work. But this is a baby. This is a 5-year-old girl.
The 5-year-old.
24 women. I'm
There's
trying to understand.
So much wrong with this, Farajii. Looking at Tennessee's laws, and I was just trying to figure out, was she charged with child abuse? I see child neglect as the only charge so far. It's not to say that they're, again, during their investigation, not necessarily going to add much more because, again, they were posted for public consumption. And some might argue that we might be seeing, child porn, basically, of, women's nude bodies. Of course, it was blurred out, those 3 images. But the child standing there, not only, Farajii, I'm talking about the possibility of being burnt. If you want to teach your child how to wax, first of all, in the state of Tennessee, one must be at least 16 years old to gain an esthetician's license and 750 hours. That's by law, right? But in your mind, you're taking your child to work today. Why not wax an arm, a leg, underarm? You get what I'm saying? Like, there's so many other places even though, again, the appropriateness would be questioned across the board. But
Right.
as a mom, you start with grown women's pubic areas for your 5-year-old to see and to look at, to touch, and to come in contact with hot wax, gloves or no gloves. It is just inappropriate. It is probably illegal, as we will see with these charges, because the child neglect laws just in general is the failure or omission to provide childcare, supervision, or necessarily protecting and maintaining the child's physical, and where we're going with this is their mental state. And again, that goes from the food, nutrition, shelter, supervision, medical attention, etc. That could be considered essential. So the argument becomes, what I'm interested in now, I'm like, I want to hear either affidavits from her or testimony from her, statements from her as to her state of mind, because I'm so curious as to how in her mind this was justified. Because there are people, I see the argument online, with something like this warrant, as I said before, something more like an intervention when it comes to proper parenting classes and certain amount of hours dedicated to learning how to be an adequate, caregiver, according to the law. Or is this something that is criminal in the sense that it would more fittingly face possible jail time? I'm not sure how to answer that question, because I want to hear not only, from detectives, and seeing is believing. I see these images. There's definitely some kind of infraction, legal infraction that most definitely took place. Very much a moral infraction took place. But looking at when we see what the ultimate charges will be, what are the possible penalties, it's going to be very interesting to see. And I don't know if the Culture Crew wants to chime in at this stage, but I want to wait and see, again, her state of mind when it comes to what is an adequate charge and therefore penalty in this case. But right now, it is child neglect is the only, from what I saw as of today's show, charge that has been,
and child abuse too, Suzette, right? Child abuse and neglect.
I haven't seen child abuse.
New York Post reported it. New York Post reported it as child abuse and child neglect.
Okay, well then,
and that's why I'm asking. That's why we, in the beginning.
Yeah, I tried to double check on my sources, but you're right.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But just looking at it, because I want us to understand that child abuse, as you mentioned, it's psychological. It could be emotional. It could be physical, right? And so we got to get out of our heads that abuse is just somebody hitting on you or grabbing you or something like that. No, it's emotional and psychological as well. There's one thing to teach your children about the body, the parts of the body, right? Like, at 5, especially at 5 years old, now the child is just getting into an understanding, like, this is this, what is what, and that is that. But it's another thing, and that's positive body positivity teaching. But then there's another thing when you're exposing them to women. I mean, down in the private area of women, you don't know what they have. So you got to think about the health risk of that, right? She's handling hot wax that make sure I'm saying this word correctly. An esthetician has to be trained to handle. She has to be not only trained but certified to handle, right? To get a certificate to say she is qualified to do that.
Yeah.
So you're doing this, and then I'm going back. The mother is one thing. The child had no choice. She's going to follow the mother, so there's no blame on the child whatsoever. I'm looking at the 24 women. I mean, what 24, and let's keep it real, crew, because we are part of Black community, and in the Black community, let me say it like this, y'all. In the Black community, we want to adultify children so bad that we put them in work and in places where they have to do adult work for child with child mentality or child's physical body.
Childhood innocence. That's what I'm thinking, because I'm like,
you're robbing them. We're robbing them. We're robbing them of their innocence.
It just, again, her mentality, I am so curious about, because I thought to myself, if I'm in a room and I walk in and there's a baby in the room, 5 years old, I'm literally saying, are you sure your child should be here? Like, that would be my first gut reaction. So I'm wondering, just to kind of put, let's see what the mother is thinking. Was it a child care issue?
Come on.
Like, you don't have no
Suzette.
babysitter? Like, I'm trying to figure out
Suzette, you know what the mother is saying
to these people to get them to feel comfortable with it. Go ahead, Farajii. Go ahead.
Suzette, I'm just talking. Me and you, we having a real conversation.
Yeah.
You know what the mother is thinking. Getting money. And it's unfortunate that we got to this place that sometimes our desire for money, for material gain, overrides morality, overrides value system. It overrides fundamental belief systems, right? It's getting money. She pumping up. My daughter making $700 after 8 hours of work.
I think, to your point of trying to make our kids more mature before their time, I think also in that mentality, again, just trying to, I don't want to say play devil's advocate, but look at her possible state of mind. That's why I'm so curious about it. This is fully speculative, and we don't have any proof of it, no statements or anything like this by the mom. But I'm wondering, A, is there a child care issue? Did she not have a babysitter? I'm wondering if in her mind, oh, we're all women, she could see another grown woman, but not thinking that even women can be predators.
Yes.
And how that is going to impact her child's mentality.
Yes,
again, not realizing a 5-year-old is not used to seeing other grown women and grown women's body parts. That's not normal for her. In your 30-year-old mind, it's normal because you think I'm a woman, you're a woman. We know what each other has, etc. But the fact that in her mind, there is not a distinction, an age-related, maturity-related distinction between what a 5-year-old can and should see versus what you are proud of in terms of your, line of work, etc. The fact that she posted it with a sense of pride, that message that she wrote indicated to me, again, not just money Friday. I would probably go a little bit further. She thought she was doing right by teaching this young, overly, innocent party, like totally had no clue, as you say, no choice in this matter. I'm teaching her something. I'm teaching her how to own her own stuff or make her own money, or those type of kind of indirect, again, making assumptions here, points of pride. It is actually, again, scary to think that, again, for the age of the child, the self-awareness around, that's not where you put a 5-year-old. The 16-year-old can learn to make her own money. The 16-year-old, understands women's anatomy, understands what is actually happening, and has full, cognition of what she's being exposed to. The fact that there is a deep chasm between understanding the nature and the need for protection that a 5-year-old has, again, it leads me to, like, what again is this woman's actual state of mind? It doesn't change how wrong it was, does not change that. But I'm curious so that we can, bring that to light and hopefully show other people why a circumstance like this should never happen again. And I think going back to, again, the statement that she made, she really thought she was doing something based on that statement, positive, and now is facing these charges because it is actually, quite heinous to put a 5-year-old in such an environment. But yeah, the clients.
And I agree with you. I agree. Janelle said there are some posts out there promoting ways for people to build family business legacy by paying their kids and writing off the pay as employee salaries. Somebody got it twisted. So this is not generational wealth, folks. When we talk about generational wealth, this ain't it. This is not, yes, this is entrepreneurship for the mother, but this ain't it for how to pass this on entrepreneurship skills to your children. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is abuse. So because it's abuse, then we shouldn't promote it. Regardless, even if it's a little girl doing this, I've seen little boys in positions where they're handling heavy machinery. One of the crew members said, you shouldn't see a little boy running a lawnmower at 5 years old. I mean, this is dangerous stuff here, man. This is dangerous stuff. You shouldn't see children working in a shop. But these things happen every day. Now, again, this is not just about the action. I'm going back to the point that you made. Then we got to take a quick pause. I'm going back to the point you made, Suzette. This is about the mentality. And we still have a very, very terrible form of thinking of using our children as employees, right? And it's promoted. It's promoted in the systems that we live in. You're going to get paid off of the talents and skills of your children. How many of us has been the victim of that? Where our parents or our aunties or our grandparents live vicariously through us, through our dreams. Oh, you're going to be the next sports star since I wasn't a sports star. And they drive us to the point where we lose our innocence. We lose our childhood. We lose our sense of self because an adult wanted us to be so grown so fast. And it's abusive. It's abusive. It's like we have a real problem. We can't talk about it today, Suzette. But it's like we in Black folks, in Black community, we have a very real problem of letting children be children. We got a real problem with that. And we put them in situations and environments where they hanging out with adult people, listening to adult-ass music, doing adult things. And then when they start to mimic certain things, oh, that's cute. Look at her twerking like that at 6 and 7 years old. We got a problem with that. I know I'm stepping on some toes.
No, I mean, it's so much there because we don't even have time to get into the clothes. And people are saying, oh, it's innocent. And then other people, you're the problem. You're sexualizing that child, or et cetera, et cetera. We got to talk about it because it infects and affects this
That's
culture.
that. Oh, I love how you said that. I love it.
It's deeper than what we got to dive for right here, but it's a lot of good food for thought, though. We have to ask ourselves, we all know somebody. I think we all, in some, sphere of our life, might know someone like this mom. And how do we as a community support and undergird the proper parental guidance and training that she may not have had? Yeah. Why she thinks this is appropriate? Because I'm like now thinking, what did her mom do with her? What is this? She thought somehow, some way it was justifiable, which is such a dangerous mentality. So I'm thinking about others in our community that might also subscribe to this thinking and how we reach them. But this case is going to be very interesting to see how it unfolds.
Absolutely. Ming Lee said 5 years old equal eliminate stand. We don't do that no more.
Where was eliminate? I'm still saying why she couldn't learn on legs. Why she couldn't learn on, little facial hair.
Why don't you paint little nails? Like my daughter loves painting little nails.
That's crazy. That's really
crazy. That is crazy.
The poor child now.
Teach her how to do hair. There's so many other things that you can teach your child to do at 5 years old about financial literacy.
Show me how to braid. Do a little braid. Instead, we're exposing them. That's why it's so sad. And
it's really sad. All right, look, we got to take a quick pause when we come forward. Speaking of money, unfortunately, let's end the show on a high note with the president. President Biden has officially announced that he is relieving the debt of over 150,000 borrowers. We're going to talk to Suzette about what this president has done and how it could potentially affect your wallet. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister Suzette Speaks. All right, let's get off of the how to make money in a crazy way to how to save money in a very good way. The Biden administration made a major announcement earlier today where they said it is automatically forgiving $1.2 billion in student debt for 153,000 borrowers. Wow.
Here we go again.
You say, here we go again. That's a big deal.
It is.
That's a big deal. According to the Department of Education, loan holders whose debt will be discharged will receive an email from President Joe Biden today informing them of the forgiveness. The 153,000 borrowers who qualify for the latest debt forgiveness are those who are enrolled in the Saving on a Valuable Education, the SAVE repayment plan, and who have made at least 10 years of repayments, Suzette. So this is a good boost for those who have already been dealing with student loan debt for years. But $1.2 billion, I was looking at a statistic earlier today. The average American, according to the data for 2024, the average American carries about $100,000 worth of debt.
Wow.
$100,000. Now, the other thing that is funny, and I got to talk about, we got to figure out a time to talk about this, that $100,000 today is not the same amount of money that it used to be,
right,
in terms of how much you earn. Because if you live in certain cities, you might be earning six figures. Say you earn $100,000, but it's because of the cost of inflation and everything else. Some of those cities, CBS News put this out earlier, that if you earn $100,000 and live in Los Angeles, it's like you only actually earning $47,000.
You gotta say more like 50 grand. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So, you know, when you're looking at this debt relief or this student loan debt relief, this helps to chip away. But this is something. Give me your take on this, Suzette.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Sorry, I wanted to go. I thought you were gonna make one more point. No, I was going to say congratulations and thank you again to the Biden administration for trying to expand student loan forgiveness in the face of general opposition. Now we got to remember, everybody on social media is like, wow, only 12,000. I think it's 153,000 borrowers, but the debt that's being forgiven is up to 12,000 per borrower who has been again paying back. Think about that, owing about $12,000 and having that debt for over 10 years says a lot about, you know, the financial snapshot of these borrowers, right? So whatever technical school, trade school, even community college or, you know, education perhaps didn't help them get to where they hopefully wanted to go. And with the financial, what could I call it? The status quo when it comes to inflation, although it has been going down, although we are one of the strongest job markets ever, lowest unemployment, especially for Black people ever, thanks to the Biden administration, there are people that are feeling still a crunch of student loans. So we also have to point out the reason why there has not been blanket. I know I wasn't one of them and I've been waiting. Is because of the Supreme Court that has blocked the Biden administration's effort. You have to remember those justices were appointed by who? Do we remember?
Come on, Trump.
And those justices on this conservative court have not allowed across the board blanket loan forgiveness as proposed by the Biden administration. So what they're trying to do is chip away little by little. A little is a lot because the total amount is 138 billion. Right, this total was added. All of the forgiveness programs that they have been able to get through Department of Ed, 138 billion for almost 4 million people. Right, so 3.9 million borrowers have been affected, and that's better than where we started at the beginning of this administration because no one else was trying to do it. But again, what is stopping him from going even further? The Supreme Court of the United States. So I applaud his efforts. And if you go to whitehouse.gov, there are other programs. I also encourage everybody, if you have not looked at your student loan forgiveness programs or repayment programs in a while, call your servicer, call the U.S. Department of Ed, and then see what is available. Because sometimes there are things that are, or new programs, repayment plans, deferral, deferment, and all kinds of things that can help you if that's something that you struggle with. So I applaud the Biden administration again. Every little bit counts. And people's talking about, oh, only 12,000, but if you're still paying 12,000 over 10 years, then you actually need the help, right? Financially.
Absolutely.
So I'm grateful that they are trying to chip away little by little. 138 billion is not too shabby though. Almost 4 million people is not too shabby though. But again, we haven't had the blanket forgiveness that everybody's been looking for. But in the face of opposition, they have come up with ways to work out new plans to get some of our debt of Americans forgiven. So
and very quickly, Suzette, when you owe debt, the banks are relentless in trying to get their money back, right? They don't care about what's your station in life. They don't care about
discharged in bankruptcy either. This student
and which is crazy because if you can't pay your other creditors, then how do you expect you to pay your student loan debt, right? With interest and payments. Here's what ABX Girl checked in. She said student loans may continue after death. There was a story about a mom getting sued for her late son's loan to be paid in full after he passed away from an accident. I've actually heard stories like this, Suzette. I've actually heard with the banks is saying, oh, so-and-so is gone. Is somebody else able to pick up the debt?
You co-sign. Hey, co-signer, what's up?
Right.
Crazy. It's scary.
And so, you know what? That should be illegal. I'm going to be honest with you. That should be illegal. That should not be the case that Americans, like you're grieving the loss of your loved one. And then you get a phone call from a bank and say, you can hear somebody on the other side just be like, I'm so sorry for your loss. Is there another person?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we want to inform you that this is the an attempt to collect the debt. God forgive me. I'm not laughing because everybody has been there. But, I appreciate, again, even if you're not impacted, you can't say the Biden-Harris administration is not trying to get folks, in line. And something like you just mentioned, again, is why we need like-minded elected officials, people that share our values, to get in places and positions of power in both the federal and local governments so we can start to see more programs like what you're talking about, because it's up to the politicians to change the laws. They can do that. But now, as it stands, this is, something that is sadly affecting many more borrowers of student loan debt who are drowning in this student loan debt. And I appreciate, them coming up with innovative ways to try to help those that they can.
And you got to. And we don't know. I mean, we've been talking about the presidency, of course, and, you have some congressional races, like the landscape of getting certain policies across, like the student loan debt repayment policy, that it's going to change because once the new president comes in, you got some new Congress members coming in, that's going to change the dynamics of power right now. And so this is so important, and I appreciate you for saying that this is one of those issues where it really does come down to the elected official. It comes down to the elected official. I don't know anybody who would say, I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, that's going to say, you know what? Oh, I got an opportunity to relieve some of my debt. I don't want it because it's from a Democratic president, or I don't want it because it's from a Republican lawmaker. I haven't come across, nobody has said that. No one.
We won't say that as the American people, but you have elected officials. Now, we just saw it on immigration that don't want a plan or successful passage of legislation for this president to get credit in an election year. It is sad. There are people that think that way that are sitting in office right now currently, and we need to get them out of there because it shouldn't be a Democrat or a Republican thing. If it benefits the American people, if it's working on behalf of the majority, what the majority of American people want, which is to see people that can move into home buying, new phases of life, taking care of their kids more adequately, things because they are not being trapped by, the debt that, unfortunately, in some cases, some of these schools were scammy and all this other stuff that was going on. I was going to say allegedly Trump University, but he was also in New York for that. But point being, whatever it is that this administration can do, it has been doing. So y'all got to give it credit, Mr. Biden and Kamala Harris, for trying to push what they see as an agenda that is working on behalf of American people. But this one is a win.
Absolutely. Cindy D, you said something is always better than nothing. Great job, President and VP. CC Knight, you said vote. Janelle, you said, I wish there was a way that those student loan testimonials could be collected and broadcast.
Hello, because there are people I've met that scam universities down here in Miami that closed down. They started paying back a bunch of it and then the rest got forgiven. So I'm grateful. I know people personally who are in law enforcement and other, public lines of work. It has helped a lot of people. So I would agree with her that we would need to see hopeful, loud and proud testimonials as to how this $138 billion of forgiveness already by the Biden administration has helped people.
Absolutely. The crazier part, we don't have time to talk about it. I mean, it's a small amount of people compared to how many people are actually in the country. There are over 320 million of us in the country, 153 borrowers, and you got $1.2 billion in debt from school.
I know.
Whew.
I know.
If you look at it, that's a lot. That's still that's a lot that an average student is carrying on their back. And it goes to you is the question that becomes is education, depending on the school, you paying all this money and you still come out and wanting.
With technical school, trade school, community college, we got to start promoting those things as well.
Absolutely. My sister Suzette Speaks, always a pleasure to check in with you. What you got going on? I know you cooking up something.
I have a wonderful event coming up next Tuesday, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Stand Up. I'm doing a Black History Month celebration for 10 outstanding men of the movement. That's what it's called, celebrating men of the movement. Wanted to switch it up because I've done a lot around women's issues. And I think, for this Black History Month, it would be unique to highlight my brothers. So we'll be talking about everything from mental health, physical health, business, entrepreneurship, and politics in 3 dynamic panel discussions. Included with your ticket is libations provided by Victor George Spirit. Shout out to my sponsor, as well as food and light bites. But we wanted to create a welcoming space where we can all network together. The movers and shakers down here sometimes get siloed into their little circles. So this will be a great event. Hey, shout out to y'all. It's called Politicking, a networking social present celebrating men of the movement. You can see all my dynamic men leaders there. And we wanted to take some time to also give them their roses while we hear from them. And again, it should be a great night next Tuesday, downtown Fort Lauderdale.
There it is. It was asked, what is your channel called? Is it Suzette Speaks?
Suzette Speaks Show. Suzette Speaks Show. So just look up my name, Suzette Speaks, and you'll find me right here on YouTube and on all social media platforms. Yep,
and
there I am.
Definitely check her out. There she is. Y'all can check her out on Roland Martin Unfiltered. She getting that time, man. She putting in that work.
Getting them
Hey, Suzette, I'm really excited and I'm happy to hear that you're doing something around Black History Month and celebrating brothers in the movement. So that should be very, very good. I'm sure you're going to have a fantastic turnout. But when God willing, when you come back on next Wednesday,
I'll be like, hey,
we're going to have to talk about it. We got to talk. And you know what? Here's the thing. I don't know if you and I talked offline about it, but I would love for you to invite any of those voices that you're working with, any of the brothers, the sisters, whoever you think is great. Bring them onto the culture. Let's have a dialogue with it. I want you to, you know what I'm saying, like really build on the work that you're doing, using this platform as a way to do it. Absolutely. So I would love to do it. Any of those Black men, let's bring them on.
I would love it because they need the exposure. There's some unsung heroes, y'all, that are just doing good work.
yeah.
And I want to, from my union leaders to, again, those folks who are holding up Black Men in Tech. The founder of the Black Men in Tech Conference will be one of the speakers. Just some really good e-commerce gurus who grew businesses and sold them. There are people in our community who have a blueprint that we might not know them personally, but I want to create access points for folks who have had success, right, in different areas to share what's going on and how they did a government contract, corporate contracts. What are we doing? What don't we know? And who can we learn it from? That's what this platform, Politicking, is about. Good information for the people, and the networking is just the icing on the cake. So I hope it goes well as well. Pray for me. Thank y'all.
I will. Definitely will.
Thank
All right,
you.
Suzette Speaks, thank you so much for joining us as always. And of course, thank you for being so good for the culture.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate you.
See y'all next
folks,
week.
That's going to do it. See you later, Suzette. Folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you. Make sure you go to blackstarnetwork.com, download the app for free, follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And of course, we ask for your financial donations as an investor, as a stakeholder in this media mission that we are embarked upon. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad. You can follow me on all social media platforms, but I need some friends on the Instagram platform, IG. So hit me up at The Real Farajii on IG. On the X platform, you can find me at Farajii, and I would love to connect with you and continue to build with you. Big shout out to all of you, the illustrious culture crew, for always sharing with me, always talking, having these conversations, and so much more. Man, this show could not happen without your support. So thank you so much for tuning in and being there with us through the ups and downs of trying to bring you news and information like no other. So thank you, crew, for being there with you. Being there with me. All right, folks, stay tuned. Up next, 6 p.m. Eastern Time is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Peace.